Are you able to hear me now? Awesome, awesome. So, are you, let's say, Tori, are you a user of HubSpot or a partner or somebody considering HubSpot? Looks like it's just you and I on here right now. User. Awesome. Awesome. Well, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and load up my demo portal, and then we can get started. Like I said, today we're going to be primarily talking about just the sales process, tracking that in HubSpot, different tools that you may want to use to do that, and different ways you can go about it. So I'm going to go ahead and start to present my screen. And hopefully we get a few more. Looks like we have another person on. Welcome. Good morning. I would actually be curious to know how you guys feel about these morning calls. I figured this would be a first time testing this out to see if getting some early morning trainings and meetings together before the workday starts would be preferable to people, or if evenings would be better or midday. So love to know if you have an opportunity to chat, if you like this time, if it's too early, that'd be great to know. All right, while you guys think through that, I am going to go ahead and get started. So the main things, like I said, I wanted to talk about today was going through the life cycle from we have a new user, a new contact in HubSpot, that person becomes an opportunity. How do we determine when someone becomes an opportunity or prospect or lead, whichever terminology you use internally? We typically go with a like subscriber or unqualified lead to a qualified lead. And a qualified lead can really be like marketing qualified lead or sales qualified lead. And we track that in a different way than most HubSpot users track it. And this has just been possible through some of the tools that I'll show today, where we actually track MQL and SQL through the leads object, which we'll demo today, versus an actual lifecycle stage. A couple reasons we do it that way, which I'll explain as we go through that. The other part is once we have someone that seems like an opportunity, tracking that through to a deal. And then obviously closing that deal and turn those individuals to a customer. So what I'll talk through right now is just someone coming into your system. So depending on how you're getting users or contacts in your system itself, whether that's through like blogging, call to actions, whether that's through some type of marketing, social media, something of that sort, where they're mostly subscribers, they're pretty cold in terms of your life cycle. They're probably going to come in through some type of opt-in, more so than someone that's coming from outreach. If they're coming from outreach, you're probably going to start them a little further down the funnel, where they're going to start off as a lead versus somebody that's just coming in as a subscriber or unqualified lead. So let's talk through that. So in HubSpot, if you're not familiar with it, I'm going to go to where you would find life cycles and talk to that for a second. So if you're in and you're walking along with me, you can click on the gear in the top right. And in there, we should be able to come down to our objects, and then we'll just click on contacts and then life cycle stage. So within the life cycle stage, you will find your life cycles, how you have them set up. We actually have this one here that you're seeing set up for our nonprofit customers, just because we use this portal a lot to demo to them some very specific nonprofit things. However, these can be whatever stages you want them to be. Like I said, in our live system, what we use today is actually going to be subscriber, unqualified lead, qualified lead, and then we go into a opportunity and then to customer. And the reason behind that again is we want someone that's a subscriber that we may not know much about them, right? We just know maybe a name or something of that sort. But then at some point, they're going to start to opt into things, or we're going to get them to maybe do a webinar or something of that sort, that where we get a little bit more information, at least enough to know that they are a company or something that looks like they may fit us, or they're someone that at least is showing interest, then they may become a lead at that stage. But in our case, they would be an unqualified lead because we've yet to match them to our ideal client personas at that point. So at a certain point, they may do some stuff, or we may reach out to them, or they may opt into for a call, or they may fill out, for a report or something like that, where we get enough information to where we can now make them a qualified lead. So the way that we handle the qualified leads, and I'm going to go back to my dashboard so I can get my demo contact here, is that if we go into our demo contact inside of HubSpot, why aren't you opening? Yeah, let's go this way. So inside of HubSpot, you will have a couple of ways. So the old way was to actually track through like a lead status. So you may, if you've been using HubSpot for a while, then you may be using your lead status property, which is this one here, which allows you to track a lead through like someone being a new lead, through open, in progress. Once you open a deal, they'll go into that stage and so on. Most of our clients coming in HubSpot today, we advise them not to use this property. And instead use the lead object, which you will find over in this area here. The main reason for using the lead object over using the life cycle is going to be because with the life cycle, it's really a property, really like a drop down that you set once and forget about it. And you have to remember to go reset it if you want to use it again. But the challenge is that you lose all of your historical data. You lose that person became a lead before, right? If they become a lead again, maybe they became a lead, they didn't go all the way through the process. So now they pop back up again because they're interested again. And now you're going through the process again. Or maybe you sell to customers where they're buying repeatedly and you want to track that opportunity multiple times. And you want to be able to see, oh, this person became an opportunity 4 times, they've showed interest and they went on to a deal 3 of the 4 times, something of that. That is where the lead object is going to come into play. This object literally just tracks the opportunity for business. It's not yet an opportunity, it's the potential for opportunity. Let's say that. So whenever you get a lead, so I have my subscriber, I had an unqualified lead. Now I'm moving on to a qualified lead. So I'm going to create this lead here. And so the way that we track it is we actually have multiple pipelines. This is our demo portal, so I don't have them in here. But in the leads module, you can have multiple. So the way that we do this is we actually have a MQL pipeline and an SQL. And I'll show you guys how to set that up in a second. We'll walk through that process, and it's super, super easy. So, but what we would do is we would create this lead. We would, in here you can add opportunity for, let's say, for sub, I'm going to put for subscription. And then we're going to pick our lead pipeline. And then we have our similar stages here of we've identified a lead. We've done our research that we need to do. We've attempted contact. We're in contact. And again, these are customized here for the nonprofit side, but these can be whatever stages you want. In most cases, the HubSpot default stages would be good enough, which is just usually going to be identified that you're attempting contact, you've connected, and then they're going to either be qualified or not qualified. What happens here with the lead is that you're working a lead as you're doing your outreach, because now I have, a qualified lead. And now I'm going to work that lead by either reaching out through email, through social media, however I'm going to do that prospecting part of my sales process. And I'm going to use these stages on this lead to track where I'm at. Here's the beautiful part is that you can do one, you can have these be whatever you want, but 2, you can automate based off of these as well. You can also actually create these leads as automation, which we'll get to in a little bit. So that you don't have to do this every time manually. But so we have our lead type. Is this going to be upsell, new business, reattempting business, whatever that looks like. So you can select whatever best fits. And then you can apply a label to this. Is it hot, warm, or cold in terms of, if somebody, just submitted a web form showing interest in your service, it might be a hotter lead. Or if it's somebody that you're doing a cold outreach to, it might be a cold lead. So you can kind of decide on how you want to put those in there in terms of which one they fit. I'm going to go with hot. I'm going to set a lead owner. I'm going to go ahead and create my lead. So now I get a nice little visual on my right side here that I can then track. So a lot of times when you're working your leads, you may not actually be working them from the contact itself. So we'll talk about where sales reps would work in terms of the Sales Workspace in a little bit here as well. But now we have our lead. And so the nice thing is that we remain having a contact. We may have this contact that is in the lead qualified status, let's say, the lead qualified, and then we have a lead that's going to either be in our MQL or our SQL pipeline. And so the way that we manage that is we actually have to automatically create these leads is that if someone is meeting our criteria for who our ideal client is, then we will automatically create a lead in our MQL pipeline because our marketing team is the one that's actually building out those qualifications. They're actually the ones attracting them through content and all that stuff. So we actually create that as a lead in our MQL lead pipeline. If a rep is the one that is creating that lead because they're doing outreach or they're prospecting, then they would create that lead inside of the SQL lead pipeline. So people use SQL and MQL 2 different ways. We typically do it where they go into one or the other, not that they go MQL and then SQL. So this allows us to still get data when we're trying to understand how many MQLs are we getting and how many SQLs are we getting, marketing qualified and sales qualified leads. So this allows us to keep that through this lead and work this lead through qualified. One of the nice things about HubSpot is once you get to a point of, let's say, qualified, then it will automatically prompt you at this point to create a deal because we are saying that they are qualified to move to an opportunity at this point. So at this point, we've connected with them. They've shown interest. We believe there's opportunity here. So now we're going to go ahead and create our lead and move on. Qualify our lead and move on to the next phase. Once we create this deal, the lead is closed, and now we're working a deal moving forward. So this is going to be a great solution if you have, for example, someone filling out, a demo form on your website, or they're asking for a consultation or something like that you're doing kind of like that first touch. It's going to, in a lot of cases, going to be better to create a lead than a deal because at that point, you're not even sure if they're qualified, if they're fit, if the need is truly there. So a lead's going to be better for that so that you can track the individuals you're talking to and how those are going and then move into an opportunity if there actually is opportunity. Okay. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and before we go into this Sales Workspace, let's go and look at the leads object. So same area, you're going to click on the gear in the top right if you're following along. We're going to scroll down here on the left side, objects, leads, and then in here, you'll see pipelines. And in this pipeline, you'll be able to customize your lead stages. And you can see we can add other stages. So the way that these are set up is they're categorized as like a not started at this point. So we have identified and researched. So we haven't really started working the lead yet. We're just trying to research and identify these leads. Then we get into in progress where we're actually attempting, connecting, and in this case, cultivating. You may not have all these. You may just have one in these stages, but it's showing it in progress at this point. Then we're going to get to qualified. And you can see here, you can tell it if you want it to require a deal to be created or not. A lot of times you do at this point want a deal to be created. Sometimes you don't. But one of the nice things that you may have noticed when I clicked on qualified that I did have an opportunity where you can usually you can either create a deal or associate a deal. So that, you kind of decide if you've already created the deal, then you can do association. So this is nice on this side. Disqualified is over here. So in terms of the disqualified, this means that like I talked to this person, they're not a good fit for us, or it's bad timing, or whatever that might look like, you're disqualified. One of the things I want to point out is similar to sales pipelines, you do have an opportunity to require certain properties. So for example, this one doesn't have any, so let me go to this one. This would be a better example. When we do disqualify, we're asking for the disqualified reason. And then we're also given an opportunity to leave notes for disqualifying at this point, so we can understand why did we not get this lead. This is going to allow you to do something very similar to like managing deals in HubSpot, where you have a loss reason on a deal. Maybe you want to put them in a different automation or segment them differently. Maybe you want to change their lead score because you know that this is not really a fit for your organization. Maybe at one point it showed it was. Those types of things. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when we're going through the process, some of the data we may have, it may say that they have a certain size organization or they have a certain annual revenue or those types of things. But when we actually get to talking to them, we realize that, okay, some of these numbers are off. And with those new updated numbers, they actually weren't the best fit. So this will give you an opportunity to notate some of that stuff. Okay, so now that we have that, I'll hit on these few things here since if you haven't seen the lead object, So you do have an opportunity, like I said, to automate. So let's actually, yeah, automate. So we do have an opportunity to automate. So you can do some stuff on creating leads based on certain things. So for example, you could say when a lead enters a certain stage, then I want to automate so I can set my stuff here. I personally prefer to do this through workflows. In my opinion, I just think it's a little bit better, just because it gives you a little bit more opportunity to get a little more granular. So you're not just getting a lot of leads being created that may not be the best qualification. I like a good workflow that I can actually go through and see the logic on why this was actually created. You can create lead follow-ups for disqualified leads and turn that on. And you can set what that looks like here in terms of when that should come up on, what type of disqualifications that should come up on. Your lead progression. In terms of like things like this is like moving to the next stage. So you could do like where like a user has to complete certain stages before it can go to the next stage, those types of things. And then you can automate with some simple workflow stuff here on each of your lead stages. This is going to be very, very, very similar to a sales pipeline. So if you've built a sales pipeline for deals, it has a very similar architecture in terms of what you can do. So this is great where it's like, hey, as soon as a lead gets created and identified, I want to create a task for my rep to do outreach or to do the research stage. Once we're attempting, maybe I want to wait, I don't know, a day or two, but once it goes into that stage, and then create a follow-up task for them to reach out again. So these are just all ways to help hold individuals accountable to different things. Maybe once a deal is considered, qualified, maybe I want to notify somebody of that qualified deal or something of that sort, or run an automation. You do have lead tags. Lead tags are just color tags that allow you to do certain things. So based on certain properties and things like that, you can add tags. You see this in deal pipelines as well. Like, when you have a deal amount, that's a huge deal amount. You can put a huge tag on it, right? When you have something that is current customer, you put a current customer tag on it. Just a quick way to see and highlight things that might be important to your operations or for your team to know. We don't really use these right now because it's more of a new feature in terms of lead tags. I could see situations with a lead tag if it's like a lead for a specific, let's say, product line or something like that. Maybe you want to add a tag that shows, this is for subscription services, this is for consulting, or this is for a certain program, those types of things. That way, quickly at a glance, you can see what type of leads these are. That might be a way that you want to use your tags. All right. So there's some other settings and things like that you can do in here as well, like syncing lead owners with contact owners, syncing activity across leads and contacts. So those types of things you can obviously do. Editing your lead creation form. And then one of the most important things is adding custom properties to your lead. So if you require certain information for leads, this is a great place to go and add those properties to each of those leads. So for example, I'll take a roofing company, let's say. Let's say that I'm taking a lead for someone that I'm creating a lead for someone that I'm talking to, and they want to get their roof inspected. And I'm looking at this roof and I want to put things on this lead of like what type of shingle they have on their roof, what color the roof is, when was the last time the roof was replaced. Some information that I think will be important to track on this instance versus the contact. So this would be my opportunity to add that stuff to the lead itself and track that. So that could be something that is nice, especially if it's something where I would like to push it at some point to the deal. Like I don't have a deal yet, right? Because I'm not at that stage. So I don't really have anywhere to put it on the deal, but I can put it on the lead now. And then if the lead becomes qualified, when I create my deal, push that information over to my deal. So you can do that with a workflow once a deal is created. So, okay. So from there, let's jump over. So right now what we've talked about, let's recap for a second. So we've talked about like if you're having individuals come into your subscriber process, into your subscriber lead lifecycle, then you want to move them to a qualified lead. So let's talk through that for a second because we've talked about the lead part, but how would you get them from one place to the other? So we did talk about doing workflows as creating a lead and setting criteria when a lead should be created. One way, though, to really get that is to come over to, let's see, I may not have this in my demo portal, but you may have noticed, oh no, it's here. Okay, perfect. So if you come over to the marketing tab, you'll see lead scoring. So HubSpot launched this, I would say like within the last quarter or so, lead scoring and engagement scores. So a lot of times in the past, we've had to kind of, use the kind of property for HubSpot, which was somewhat effective, or workflow to do some more complex types of lead scoring. But they did build this new module, like I said, within the last quarter or so, where it allows you to build pretty nice lead scores within HubSpot directly. These come with tiers, things like that. And the benefit of it is, that you can see from some of these graphics, is that the score is implemented throughout the CRM system. But once you build the score, so let's just go look at that for a second. So once you build a score, you can actually use this score to create your leads. So for example, like what we would do is that we might say that someone that is matches our, let's say, fit score, whatever our criteria is, becomes a lead, unqualified lead, right? Because what we're looking for, and this is something that I think is very important for you to do internally, is decide what is considered unqualified and what is considered qualified. So the way that I look at it is like this. Somebody that's unqualified is someone that may meet all of our fit criteria, but they do not have a high engagement score. So what do I mean by that? I'm looking for someone that is not qualified necessarily to be a fit for our service, but I'm looking for somebody to be a fit for a prospect or an opportunity. So what I'm qualifying for to see if they should go on to become a lead is this a good time and a good fit, right? So first thing I'm doing is saying unqualified means that they're a unqualified fit because I have not yet qualified their fit. And again, this can be however you decide to do this internally, or it can be once they meet the fit, now they're qualified, right? But just because they're in a lead status of qualified does not mean that you created a lead record for them. So let me go back and repeat that, because I know there's kind of some tongue twisters and kind of a bunch of options you can go through there. Version 1, where you can say, I'm going to keep them unqualified until they meet fit and engagement goal scores that are a medium or high. And then I'm going to move them to qualified lead and then create a lead. Or as soon as they are fit, I will move them to qualified lead, but I will not create an actual lead record, which I showed a second ago, until they have a high enough engagement, saying that this is a good time to actually work them. So hopefully that makes sense. If it does, please let me know in the chat. And there's a few of us in here. That'll be great to know. Also, if you're just now jumping in, I would love to know if these early morning calls work for you. I know that it's quite early that we're getting started. Hopefully you have some coffee. But I want to know, I'm testing out some different times to see if early morning, may try some evenings, and stick to like midday and just see what works for everyone. But I kind of figured these early mornings will kind of get you hopefully some knowledge you can take into your workday. But feel free to drop some comments in the chat regarding that. All right. So at this point, we would build our lead score. Our fit would be what it sounds like, right? We're going through and we're building things that are related to the fit of, let's say, our company or our contacts. So in this case, I'm going to say that the associated company, and I'm just going to pick something that says like industry, and then we're just going to say it's any of, and I'm just going to say accounting for now, right? And at that point, I can give this a score. So as I give this a score, my total score points that I have is 100. Depending on if you have like enterprise or something like that, you can do scores over 100. But for the most part, your top score is 100. Then you can group different types of scoring in different places. So you might say, you may have some basic things that are like revenue and industry and employee size, but then you may have something that are very specific to kind of narrow them down, that they're in a certain city or a certain country or a certain state, those things. Basically, what you will want to do is build out your entire score. And once you build that out, what you can do over here in Action is you can actually test a contact, and you can select someone inside of your system and see if they actually meet the criteria or not and what their score is. So it's really cool in terms of being able to test your score, make sure the logic works, and make sure that you're getting like what is your top. My recommendation for this is to figure out who your best contact is. And one thing I point out, this does not, one of the nice things, this does not have to be just B2B. This can also be a B2C. If you're a nonprofit, this can also work for qualifying donors, like when's a good time for who's a good fit for donor or major donor. So this can be used for a lot of different things because you have the ability to select your properties and add scores and do all that stuff. It really works for any of those types of fits. And in terms of engagement, that is going to work based on how they're engaging with the organization. So even that would work for you. So scoring is a really cool way to see how things work. You can even get down to doing even deeper things with certain stuff. We don't really have a lot of association stuff set up in the system, but even getting down to very specific associations, you'll see this one is going to a very specific company in terms of association. Any company in terms of association, but you could go down to association only companies that have the company type prospect. I want to count for these things, for example. So you can get even more granular with that. So really cool. I'm not going to build a whole score today, but let me know if you guys would want to actually see one of these on actually building a score from start to finish. I would be interested to know if that's an interest or not, and we can get that going. All right. So the engagement score is going to be the exact same thing. If you have enterprise, it's going to be the same thing, but it's just going to be different options. So let me be clear on that. The difference is that we're going to be doing a engagement score based on like how many times they visited a blog post, how many forms they submitted, those types of things. It's all about engaging activity that is going to calculate that score. So then you have a fit score and you have an engagement score. And as you'll see down here, depending on your plan in HubSpot, it will unlock this opportunity to create a combined score. So at that point, you can decide when you want to create your lead. If you want to do it off of one of these, a combination of these, or you want to do it off of the combined score. The way that we do it today is we do it off of these two here, and we just have a workflow that says when the engagement score is medium and high and the fit score is medium and high, then do this. And then we go and have it create a lead for our team. Okay. All right, so let's go over to our Sales Workspace and let's talk through that for a second. So hopefully you've seen this before. So the Sales Workspace is essentially what it sounds like. As a rep, you can be in each individual contact, or if you've been using HubSpot for a while, you might work out of your task list. This sales space here gives you essentially a dashboard as a sales rep to be able to work through your task, your pipeline, your deals, everything in one place. HubSpot's also using some AI stuff and some artificial intelligence stuff to also tell you like what actions you should be potentially taking based on how people are engaging with your organization. And you'll see that stuff come down here under this guided action section. That stuff will pop up down here, and it's going to show you all actions related to deals. It's going to also show you related to prospecting. So things that are related to like your leads that we talked about a minute ago. So you're going to see any tasks that you have that are high priority, all your tasks today. You're going to see those here just like you would normally in your task stuff. If you have anyone in sequences, you're going to, in tasks coming from those sequences, you will see that showing up here. You have your calendar here. You have some insights that you can see in terms of like revenue that you're driving, those types of things, as well as your activity feed will show here. Some of the other things that you have on the prospecting side are going to be looking at your target accounts. So if you click here and you guys are using the account-based marketing tool for target accounts in HubSpot, if you're utilizing that, you'll be able to see those target accounts here. Otherwise, you have to set up that criteria. You can see your leads, and this is going to show you any leads you're working. So that lead that I created earlier is what we're looking at here. And I would see all my leads here. So as my leads are coming up, as that automation we talked about, right? Somebody meets the lead score as a qualified lead and engagement is high. Our automation creates a lead for us. That lead gets assigned, pops up here on our record. And as a rep, I can come in here and work my leads for the day. So that is really nice action and tool there. I can click on these, open them up, and work them right from here, move on to the next one. I can also open a queue. So if I have a lot of leads here that I need to work, I can open up my leads queue and work through all my leads pretty quickly. This is what that would look like. So as I go through here, I can work through, make my calls, send my emails, track my notes, whatever I have to do. And then I can actually just over in this side is just check my box here and mark this as completed once I'm done, or enroll it, or do whatever I need to do with it through there. So usually actually takes actions. HubSpot's pretty good at going through those with you. And you'll see if you have other types of leads in different areas and different account stuff, it'll show up there as well. I can also see my deals here. So if I'm working deals, I can quickly switch over to my deals pipeline without actually going to deals. I can see everything right from this workspace so that I can see where everything is that I own. I can see different pipelines and break down by pipelines, as well as I can see my schedule and see what that looks like. Upcoming meetings, follow-up opportunities is going to show me here in terms of anything I need to follow up on. And then again, see my feed here so I can keep up on records that I own or follow. So a lot of cool stuff there in terms of like being able to see across the board. So again, when we're thinking about the life cycle and we're thinking about how we are bringing somebody all the way from the start, right? We're getting them in through content or however we're getting them in. And then we may, once they fill out a form and start opting into resources, we might look at them as an unqualified lead. Once they meet our fit score, we consider them a qualified lead. And then also once that fit score is medium or high score, then once they have an engagement score that's medium or high, then we create a lead record for that individual. Now, the way that we typically work it is that our reps can go and look at our qualified leads, even if they don't have a lead, and they can start those SQLs if they like, or when that person gets qualified by marketing through engagement, it will become an MQL lead. So that's typically how we would get to our lead. And then from our lead, they're either going to be disqualified or qualified. And then from there, that qualified lead will turn into a deal. And then that deal will hopefully turn into a customer, right? So at that point, your rep, if you have all that set up, and the scoring set up, your automation set up to create your lead, those things put in place, as well as your sequences that they're using to do your outreach, then all of that, they should be able to work from this space majority of their day to work through those leads and see what is important to work on today. So hopefully that all makes sense. Love to get some questions. If you have any, drop them in the chat. If there's anything specific you want to see, feel free to drop it in the chat. And I can go a little deeper on some of those things. Otherwise, that'll pretty much cover everything that I wanted to make sure we got through today. Also, are these valuable to you guys? That'd be good to know if we're on the right track in terms of the types of things that we're talking about, if these are of meaningful interest to you. Okay, doesn't look like we have any questions right now. Let me see. It looks like I might actually have one. Let's see. Okay. So looks like there's a question about combating messy data and let's see, talking about, messy data with efficiency with AI tools. All right. Yeah. So in terms of data, so hopefully you are utilizing, if you have Ops Hub, it becomes a lot easier in terms of being able to manage data. So over here under this little, I'm going to pop this open here under data management. There are a lot of really cool data tools in here to help with keeping up with the quality of data. So if you click on this data quality here, you're going to see inside the system, it's going to help you manage duplicates. And it's using AI and different tools to track on something that looks like it is a duplicate. And you can go through and see all those and actually manage them. You will see that there are, you'll see a list of those here. Obviously, we don't have any in here right now. And then you can set some settings on looking for certain things and limits and things like that as well, getting notifications on that stuff, as well as setting up some properties and things like that you may want to track. It's actually a pretty cool tool when it comes to being able to find and clean up your data. We know that it's a big issue one of the things that you may have noticed or see that is that HubSpot is making a lot of changes right now to bring a lot of data into HubSpot because of the AI, because of it wants to be an AI first platform. And so with that being said, is bringing all your different data in, whether HubSpot actually does that thing or not, can we get the data in so we can complete closing the gaps throughout a customer's journey and really understand what is actually driving customers. So as they're doing that, what they're also doing is strengthening the data quality tools. So as you'll see here, like we have things around understanding formatting issues, duplicates, missing data, as well as if we scroll down, we'll see properties. What is the usage? So we can see how many properties in our system have like no data, how many properties are unused, duplicate properties, and we can see our totals here. So the cool thing about looking at some of this stuff is that it gives us a kind of a dashboard home place that give us a base on where to start with HubSpot and understand, okay, where do we need to see? So we can click in here and get insights on exactly what these properties are. Go through with our team. Do we actually need this property, right? Is it a property that we've created that was useful only one time? Or is it a property that we're continually using, so we should keep it? What I find working with clients sometimes is that if they don't lock down who can create a property, then everyone creates one-time properties that are only valuable to them as the independent user. And as you can imagine, if you have a big enough team, that gets extremely cluttery, right? So you end up with a lot of clutter and a lot of properties. And then another thing is they don't put descriptions and things like that on them, so no one else really knows what they are. So these are some good bases to start cleaning up your data, is making sure only a few people actually have the ability to create new properties and make sure that those properties all have descriptions so that you know what they are. So typically when we want to create new properties or remove properties, we actually have internal meetings on what those properties are and why we think they're valuable to have before actually adding them. I know that can be a little bit of a headache sometimes, but it does help us keep things clean. You'll also see some stuff here with data sync. So this is going to be with your integrations and stuff. Are there any issues with any apps integrating? Are they failing and things like that? You'll see that here. And then workflows. If you have any workflows that are in the system that are unused or that are that need review because maybe they're having problems, that stuff's going to come here. So right from this dashboard, you're going to figure out your workflows, your integrations, your properties, as well as your contacts and company records on what the quality of those are. So we can definitely do a deeper dive on this if you guys are interested in more of the Ops Hub and data cleaning. And going this, as you can see here, there's more of this information in here of different things. But if you have Ops Hub, check this out. If you don't have Ops Hub, you may have a limited ability to see some of this stuff. But one that I'll show really quick, that's an easy one, is going to be, let's see, formatting issues. So when you come in here to formatting issues, you will see that you have this option for automation. So you can actually automate like capitalizing first names and last names. And so you'll see how that makes those changes and make sure just the first letters capitalized. This is really good when you have individuals sometimes that have put like lowercase first letters or all capital, and you're actually using personalization properties within your system. Then, you know, obviously the way that they type it is a way that it's going to show up in your email. So being able to turn on these types of things are some quick, easy wins to make sure that your emails and things that are going out just look good and look professional. Same thing with email. It'll change everything to lowercase. So those are easy things. Just click those on and the system will automatically do that for you. Here with combined fields, so this is like remove last name from first name field. So like if something seems to have like first name, last name in the same field, it will remove that last name. And then this one is around your spacing and punctuation. So if it sees like the name has weird spacings or punctuations or something like that, it will fix those things for your first, last names and emails. And again, this is all automated once you turn it on. So it does help clean up the database quite a bit in terms of those things. You can also see what records here are actually being changed by the automation. So if you have to go and change something back or see maybe there's a record that was changed that shouldn't have been changed, you can see if the automation is what changed it. And you can always come here and look at also location. This is going to try to correct locations for contacts. So you'll see right now we have our current location, and it's trying to give us a proposed fix of filling in some information for us, which is pretty cool. So this is a way to help, again, enrich that data. So when we start to talk about AI is only going to be as good as the data that it's using to give you answers. So definitely having a good data hygiene is going to be extremely important to being successful when it comes to analyzing and making decisions based on data. I know we did one of these in the past with the AI tools a lot. It's changing really fast with AI tools. So we may do another one of those here soon as well, if that seems to be of interest to you guys, as they've added a lot of things of like even down like one that I've actually been using that I really like is deal insights. It's been really good of letting you know like if the likelihood of a deal closing based on what's happening on that deal. So if you're changing the close date multiple times, it might say that the likelihood is less and things like that. So pretty cool stuff in terms of the AI tools. So yeah, hopefully that helps with in terms of the data cleanup. So check this out in terms of your data integration, your custom events, your data quality, your data sets if you're not using those, data modeling. If you have, again, ops up and things like that, you may see some of this, you may not, depending on if you have it or not. But this is going to let you see how your data is built. So you see we have a lot of custom objects inside of our system since it's our demo portal. But it's going to let you know, like if you hover over one of these, you can see how the lines are connected. It's showing you how your data is, like what other objects or databases your data is connected to. It's just a good way to know how your organization operates. And within HubSpot, you can definitely create other objects to solve problems. That's actually one of the things that we specialize in here is helping organizations unify their systems. It's like, how do we not use 15 different tools? Can we do this in HubSpot? Is it possible? So you'll see things that we're helping like nonprofits and other organizations can track like connections and engagement that are like, we want to track people that are connected to a certain school or a certain campaign or a certain committee. We want to track events natively in HubSpot without having to use a third-party event tool to track those events and manage those, fundraising, all these different things. Like, how do we build these things in HubSpot to really empower our systems? And the big reason behind our goals with this is that to the point of AI and these different tools, if we can get all this data together, we can really do some magical things when it comes to insights and learning about people and understanding our users. So if you guys ever have any questions or are looking for someone to work with, I'll drop our website here. It's going to be processology.net. You guys can always reach out to us and schedule a consultation. We'd love to talk to you, meet you, learn what you guys are doing. And if it's a fit, it's a fit. If it's not, hopefully we still leave you with some value. But that'll be it for our call today. Thank you guys so much for joining me this early morning, and I hope to see you in the next one. You're very welcome.